Hey guys, Brad from simpleguitar.com here, and thanks for coming back to another video. Today we're gonna have fun and talk about one of my favorite first guitar solos for students to play, because it's the Beatles. And I love the Beatles. I mean, I grew up playing the Beatles and hearing the Beatles my whole life, and I always thought this was such a cool solo. So when I was learning and teaching myself, this was one of the solos at the top of my list. I gotta learn how to play that solo, okay? But this is the album version solo of Let It Be. Now this is different from the single version. There's actually 3 different versions of the solo. We're gonna learn the one that's on the Let It Be album, because I think that's the coolest one, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Now I've broken this into 10 different licks. We're gonna go through all 10 licks that make up the entire solo. It's pretty short, but we're gonna go through what scale makes up the solo, and then as we go through the licks, we're going to talk about the phrasing for each lick, because this is an excellent solo to start learning some of these lead guitar phrasing elements and having to use them in a musical context. And then you have them and you can use those licks and those phrasing elements in your own solos and in your own music. It just adds to your lead guitar vocabulary. So let's go ahead and dive in and talk about what scale this solo is built on, and then we're going to go through all the licks. The scale that this whole solo is built on is what I call the instant rock star scale. It is my favorite scale to teach beginners because it's super easy, only takes 2 fingers, and you can play all over the fretboard. And as this solo illustrates, you can create really cool sounding stuff just with this scale. Now, I've created a whole other video about this scale, so if you want to review that, you can click here. So with this scale, we are in the key of C major. Now, the first note that we're going to play for the scale is actually the 3rd fret of your 5th string right here. And so use your first finger to play that, and then we're going to use your 3rd finger to play the 5th fret on your 5th string. And then you're just going to use your 3rd finger to slide up to your 7th fret. Okay, so far we have 3, 5, 7. That's a 3-note group. Now we're going to change strings, and on the 4th string, you're going to use your 1st finger to play your 5th fret. And then your 3rd finger to play the 7th fret. So now we have 5 notes. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that makes up the pattern for the scale. So on the 3rd string, what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that pattern by starting with your 1st finger on the 5th fret of your 3rd string, 3rd finger on the 7th fret, and then slide that up to 9. And then we're going to change strings. So that's our 3-note group. And now instead of on the 2nd string being on 7, everything shifts when we hit our 2nd string. So our pattern is going to shift up 1 fret to the 8th fret with your 1st finger. And then the 10th fret with your 3rd finger. And then you're going to go to the 1st string with your 1st finger on the 8th fret. 3rd finger on the 10th fret. And then slide that up to 12. So this whole instant rock star scale, starting on C, going all the way up and coming back down, is going to look like this. And this is great for you to practice right now. So if you need to pause, practice the scale, get used to it. It's going to help you out a ton as we go through the solo. Now, there is a little bit more that we do play. We could use that pattern and do up here. There's another C note on the 13th fret of your 2nd string. And we could do 13, 15, 17, and then your 1st finger on 15 on your 1st string, and then 17. Because at the end of the solo, we're going to play 15 on your 1st string, and then we're going to play 15 on your 2nd string, and then 13 on your 2nd string. So we're going to use those 3 notes too. But that comes from that same little pattern that we just played. So that is the scale that you need to know to get the Let It Be solo down. So now let's dive in and go through each of the 10 licks, lick by lick, and we'll break down the phrasing for each one. Okay, so for lick number 1 of the Let It Be album solo, we're going to start right here. We're going to use double stops. Now, double stops are when you play 2 strings at the same time, and most of the time, you're playing the same fret. So if you've ever played like Smoke on the Water, where you're using your 3rd and 4th string and you lay your finger flat across 2 strings on the same fret, kind of like we do with drop D power chords, if you've seen any of my songs where we do stuff like that. What you're going to do is you're going to start with your 5th fret on your 3rd and 4th strings, and you're going to immediately hammer on with your 3rd finger to your 7th fret on both strings. So your 1st finger has to lay flat on both strings, and your 3rd finger has to be flat on both strings to get a nice sounding double stop like that. And then we're going to play that 5th fret double stop again. And then really quick, we're going to go down to the 7th fret of your 5th string and slide down to the 5th fret, and then play your 3rd fret on the 5th string. So the whole first lick is going to sound like this. Really slowly, it'll go like this. So I'm sliding from 7 down to 5. So I'm not picking my 5th fret. I'm picking the 7th fret and then pressing down with my finger the whole time as I slide it down so that the string will continue to vibrate. And that's a slide. And then if you want to add a little vibrato on that 3rd fret, all you do is bend and release the string, but you have to do it quickly. So that is lick number 1. If you need to rewind and go through that, slow it down, pause it, practice just that lick and get that down with the phrasing. The phrasing is going to be more important than what notes it is that you're playing. And so that's why you need to slow it down and make sure you're getting these double stops with the hammer on. And then another double stop, 7th fret, slide, and then your 3rd fret with a little bit of vibrato. And that is the first lick. So like I said, if you need to pause, practice that, rewind it, do what you got to do. Let's go on to lick number 2. For lick number 2, what we're going to do is we are in position right here with your 1st finger around the 3rd fret of your 5th string, because that's the note that we just ended on. So that puts your 3rd finger in position to play your 5th fret on your 5th string. And you're going to play that and slide up to 7. And then your 1st finger is going to play the 5th fret on your 4th string twice. And then your 3rd finger plays the 7th fret on your 5th string. And then we go back to the 5th fret on your 4th string with your 1st finger. So here's lick number 1 and lick number 2. With lick number 2, really slow, it's going to go like this. So I've just got that slide from 5 to 7. And then that's really all the phrasing, unless you want to add a little bit of vibrato on the last note. So that is lick number 2. So if you need to pause and practice that lick. So let's move on to lick number 3. Okay, so for lick number 3, what we're going to do is we're going to start with your 1st finger on the 5th fret of your 4th string, and then we're going to hammer on to your 7th fret. So hammer on, you're picking that 5th string and then putting your 3rd finger down onto 7 as quickly as you can so your string keeps vibrating, okay? And then we're going to play your 5th fret on your 3rd string, and then the 7th fret on your 3rd string, and we're going to immediately bend it. Now, to get this bend really good, I recommend that you wrap your thumb around the top of your neck like this so that you can get your wrist and your forearm and your elbow, all that into the bend and you're not just trying to use finger strength, okay? If you're just trying to use your third finger to do this bend, it's going to be really hard. So wrap your thumb, and then you can place your first and second finger down on the third string behind your third finger and use all three fingers to push up on the string. Your third finger is the only one making the note, right? But you can use all three fingers and a little bit of your wrist and your forearm to help push that string up, and that's going to make life a lot easier than if you're just trying to use your finger by itself. Now, once we bend that 7th fret up, we're going to bend it up a full step, a whole step. So that means if we start here on the 7th fret, we're going to bend it up until it sounds like the 9th fret. So this is going to be my target note that you have to listen for when you bend. So I'm going to start from 7 and bend up all the way up. It's a full step bend, so that is pretty big. And then once you're at the top, you're going to hit that string again and release the bend. So we come back down to the 7th fret, and then we're going to end it by hitting the 5th fret on the 3rd string. And you can add some vibrato to that note too, because it sounds good. Isn't that a cool lick? All right, so now that's lick number 3. Let's go on to lick number 4. All right, so since we ended lick number 3 with your first finger on the 5th fret of your 3rd string, we're going to start lick number 4 with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of your 3rd string. And we're going to slide it up to the 9th fret of the 3rd string. Okay, and then you're going to use your 2nd finger here, and it's going to play the 8th fret on your 1st string. So we're skipping strings here. So we're going to slide from 7 to 9 and let that note ring out, and then use your 2nd finger to play 8 so we can kind of hear both notes. And then we're going to hit that 9th fret on your 3rd string again and slide back down to 7. And then you're going to play with the 5th fret and hammer on to your 7th. So this lick slowed down is going to sound like this. And there's not really time for vibrato on that last note. Sorry I did that. But that's how it sounds. And sped up, it's going to sound like this. So this one's a little bit weird because you're using that 3rd finger and your 2nd finger. But that's lick number 4. If you need to pause, rewind that, practice it, slow it down, do what you got to do, okay? Let's go on to lick number 5. Now, since we just ended with our 3rd finger on the 7th fret of your 3rd string, that's exactly where we're starting lick number 5 as well. This is a really common bluesy lick that gets played in everything, country, rock, blues, everywhere, okay? It's a really cool lick. What you're going to do is we're going to start with that 7th fret on the 3rd string with your 3rd finger. So we're going to bend up, we're going to hit that 7th fret, we're going to bend it up, full step, so we hear the 9th fret. And then your first finger is going to play the 5th fret on your 1st string. And then you're going to come back and hit that still bent 3rd string and release it back down to 7 and then play the 5th fret on your 3rd string. So all together, it's this. And really slow. So for that bend, let your 2nd finger push up with your 3rd finger since you're going to go use your 1st finger on the 1st string. And that might take some work to coordinate your fingers and get that down, but that's okay. You can pause it, you can rewind it, and you can do what you need to do to get lick number 5 down. Now it's been a minute, so let's review all 5 licks that we've done so far because we are halfway through. So this is lick number 1. Lick number 2. Lick number 3. Lick number 4. And lick number 5. Now, lick number 6 is quite easy. What we're going to do is we're going to be coming down to your 4th string with your third finger on the 7th fret, first finger on the 5th fret, and we're going to do some pull-offs. We're going to play the 7th fret and pull off to your 5th fret. And do that twice. Like that. So when you do your pull-off with your third finger, you're not just pulling it straight up off the string. You're actually going to slightly pull it down so that your third finger will actually pluck the string just slightly. Not that, this. Okay, so we're going to do that twice. And then your third finger comes over to 7 on your 5th string, and you're going to slide down to 5. And then you're going to hit 3 and hammer on to 5. And then hit 3 again. So all together, lick number 6 is going to sound like this. Slowly. Okay, now lick number 7. This is another fun one. And we could kind of break this into 2 parts. I could have broken it into 2 licks, but it's so fast between the 2 parts, I decided it's all lick number 7. Okay, so we're going to start it out with this. We're going to start with your first finger on the 5th fret of your 4th string and then hammer on to the 7th fret. And then we're going to go to the 3rd string and play your 5th fret twice with your first finger. And then we're going to come back to the 4th string, 7th fret. And then back to the 5th fret on the 3rd string. And then we're going to use your 3rd finger on 7 and we're going to slide up to 9 and use your 2nd finger to hit 8 on your 2nd string. We're going to repeat that little thing of sliding from 7 to 9 and then hitting 8 on your 2nd string 3 times, like this. So far we have this. And then the last note is going to be your 3rd finger playing 10 on your 2nd string. So all of lick number 7 is going to go like this. So now let's go on to lick number 8. Now that we just ended with 10 on your 2nd string with your 3rd finger, for lick number 8, we're going to start with your first finger playing 8 on your 2nd string and hammer on to 10. And then your 8th fret on your 1st string, first finger. And then we're going to bend your 10th fret on your 1st string up like this, which is another whole step bend. So we're bending it up till we hear the 12th fret right there. And then once we're at the peak, we're going to hit that bent note again and release it back down. And then we're going to use your first finger to play 8 on your 1st string and hammer that onto 10. And then we're going to come back and hit 8. And if you want to do a little bit of vibrato on that last note, that sounds good too. So slow down, it'll go like this. Now lick number 9 is the easiest lick in the entire thing. It's 2 notes. We're going to barely hit the B string open, which is actually a mistake. I mean, I don't think George hit that note on purpose, but we can think of it as a ghost note or a grace note, and you're just barely going to hit that. And then I like to use my 3rd finger all the way up, so we have to shift from being down here. And you shift up so that your 3rd finger is on 15 on your 1st string, and we're going to bend that note up right after we bump the 2nd string. And then once we bend it up, we're going to slowly release it like this. Kind of sounds like a cat, doesn't it? And that's lick number 9. That's as simple as it is. We're going to bump the 2nd string and then bend up the 15th fret and release it back down. And yes, you have to move your head with the bend. Okay. All right. So For lick number 10, we're going to be right up here around 15 and 13 and 15 on your second string, okay? For lick number 10, we're just going to be on 15 and 13 on your second string. What we're going to do is we're going to pre-bend your 15th fret. So we're going to bend it up as far as you need to be so that it sounds like your 17th fret. So this is the note we're going for. So that's where we want it to be before you hit the string. So that means you have to actually put your finger down on the string, bend it up, and then you're going to hit the string and release it. So that way it sounds like we hit a note and it comes down gradually. So it's almost like a slide. In vocal terms, because we're imitating the human voice with our phrasing, it's called a glissando because we're sliding down like that. And then we're going to hit 13 really quick and then either hammer on or pick your 15th fret on that second string again. Like that. So it'll be like this so far. And then we're going to do another pre-bend on the 15th fret of your second string. And then hit your 13th fret with your first finger. And then 15. And then 13 again. And that is the final note. So add some vibrato to it to make it sound awesome. And you can hammer on to that 15th fret too. So altogether, the 10th lick is going to sound like this. And that is the end of the solo. So if you need to rewind or go back to any of those licks, I've got the markers for them down in the description, so you can just jump back. You can use the YouTube controls to actually slow it down if you need to, but you can pause, you can practice each one of those. And like I said, you can get the tab for this for free if you go to simpleguitar.com/letitbe. I have the tab just for the solo so that you can practice this and break it down into the different licks. And then all together, the whole solo is going to sound like this when you get it down. So that is the whole solo for you. So break it down into the small bite-sized licks, master each lick, and then put it all together, and you're going to have this awesome sounding solo. Now, remember, the scale that you need, I call it the instant rockstar scale. Other people call it diagonal major pentatonic scale, but that's a mouthful. And it starts right here. It's your 3rd fret on your 5th string, 5th fret, 7th fret. Then on your 4th string, 5th fret, 7th fret, 3rd string, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret. And then on your 2nd string, 8th fret, 10th fret. And then your 1st string, 8, 10, 12. And then we also use 15 on your 1st string, 15 on your 2nd string, and then 13 on your 2nd string. So altogether, your scale is... Those are the notes for the scale for the whole solo, and then you go lick by lick, and the most important thing is your phrasing. So make sure that you get the phrasing down and pay really close attention to that. And that is what is going to make it sound like the recording and make it sound awesome, is if you get the phrasing right. You can play all the right notes, but if the phrasing is wrong, it's going to sound wrong. So practice that little scale. That's going to help you know the position of the notes. That's your framework for the whole scale. And then break each lick down into the bite-sized chunks that we have, all 10 licks, and then make sure that you get the phrasing right or how you play the notes, okay? And then if you have any questions about this, just drop down below here, leave a comment. I get down there and help people out all the time. So anytime you have a question, just ask down below. Remember, you can get the tab for this at simpleguitar.com/letitbe. And also While you are there, I do have another gift for you. You can pick up my guide for you called the Top 10 Things to Learn on Guitar First, which are 10 things that I love to teach students first because they get a lot of bang for their buck for their musical progress. You can actually start playing a lot more musical stuff with a shorter learning curve than a lot of the stuff that we start out on guitar most of the time. So go to simpleguitar.com/letitbe, get the tab. You can also pick up the top 10 things to learn on guitar first right there on the same page. But have fun with this, guys. I love this solo. And like I said, if you have questions about it still, leave a comment down below. Hit the like button if this helped you out. And again, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Really, I love getting to do these videos, and I wouldn't be able to do it if you didn't watch and help me out by watching the video, hitting the like button. So thanks. You're awesome. Now, have an awesome day. Have fun with Let It Be. Go learn the solo and blow people's minds with it because it's awesome. And then I will catch you in the next video.